What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Odin coming back with another video, and today we've got the box office breakdown for this past weekend, which is all about Spider-Man No Way Home, as it has now been said that the projections for this weekend opening is $587 million plus, meaning that this film's opening weekend could actually even be higher, and this makes it the third biggest all-time worldwide debut. Again, that's of all time, before adjusted for inflation, for inflation, I believe, but still highest number of all time, third highest number of all time for opening weekend. And we also have Sony's best ever debut. So this is huge news for Sony, obviously getting the vast majority of any profits, which, by the way, the other big news, this film has officially broken even and has already made $50 million in net gain, and it's only been out for a few days. So this film, well on its way to be a billion-dollar juggernaut. And once again, the pandemic excuse continues to fall out the window, especially when we compare it to another film, which is now its second week of release, West Side Story, which has now been confirmed to be a box office flop. And remember, they were using pandemic as an excuse for that film. But before going any further, please make sure you smash that like button. It really does mean a lot. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. And also check out geeksandgamers.com. So here from Deadline, which has been using the pandemic as an excuse nonstop, as it says here, it has become the third biggest global opener of all time with $587.2 million. Yesterday I was saying it could come somewhere between 400 and 500, and now it's getting close to potentially even getting to $600 million in its opening weekend. Crossing the $500 million mark makes it only the sixth film ever to reach that milestone in its launch frame. The John Watts directed film became number 6 movie of 2021 already, number 3 for the studios, overtaking all of the Marvel picks this year. This film has now made vastly more than every MCU film that has come out. And in fact, by the end of its run, it will have made more than all of the MCU films combined this year. And this, to me, is damning for Disney. It's damning for the current state of the MCU, because even though people are going to try and say, well, this is the MCU too, yes, there are definitely MCU elements in this movie, but let's just be honest here. What's making this film successful are those Sony elements, are part of the Sony history of this franchise. That is what's making this film truly an event film, and not really much dealing with Disney nonetheless. Not to mention Disney's only getting about 25% of the net profits, which this film is already doing. Topping $500 million at open is even more impressive, seeing that it did it without China. And I hope Sony, as the sole distributor, so Disney and Sony split the production cost. Sony had 75%, Disney had 25%. Distribution, 100% Sony. So Sony, I would say right now, if you want to keep everyone in your good graces, the best way to do that is to not put this film out in China at all. You are already well on your way to getting well over $1 billion, making hundreds of millions of dollars in net gain, net profit. There is no reason to release in that country at this point in time, especially as they continue to just destroy the lives of so many people. As it goes on to say, Sony, this is the best weekend for them ever. At the international box office, it grossed $334 million from 60 markets across 5 days, landing at number 7 for the year so far among all titles. So again, all titles, and I believe that's in total. Again, this is already in just one weekend. In like-for-like overseas market, at the current exchange rates, the Pic's opening weekend surpasses Spider-Man Far From Home by 72%, Homecoming by 113%, Let There Be Carnage by 183%, No Time to Die by 113%, and Fast 9 by 210%. And a couple of things there. No Time to Die and Fast 9 got their huge numbers and got their films to be profitable because of the foreign market. So if this film's already doing 113 to 210% better than those films, which got up to like 700 plus million, this film is almost guaranteed now at this point to get to $1 billion. And again, to do so without China. This film is absolutely huge. So let's go ahead and look at some of the other films that come out. Now we have Spider-Man No Way Home, $253 million domestically. So again, a massive domestic opening. This is shattering every other film to come out. This is also shattering the Shang-Chi domestic number that had been touted as being impressive. No, not impressive at all when this is just the opening weekend number. This is a film that could end up making 400 plus million just domestically alone. Encanto, in its fourth week of release, beat Spielberg's West Side Story, which dropped 68%. Yeah, so much for that pandemic excuse, right? So much for that pandemic excuse, Mr. Spielberg. While Ghostbusters Afterlife actually made a respectable 52% drop in its 5th week of release. So this is a movie that is still making money and only made just a little bit less than West Side Story, even though it's been out for 3 more weeks. Encanto, 35% drop. Again, still having some pretty strong holds, but because of such a low opening, there's just no real chance for that film to make its money back. West Side Story is now at $27 million internationally. You also have Ghostbusters Afterlife at $173.6 million, so inching ever closer to breaking even, but still a little ways off. While, as I mentioned in the very beginning, Spider-Man No Way Home, $587.2 million. So let's actually go into the box office charting for this film. So $587 million for Spider-Man No Way Home with a $200 million budget. The break-even number for this movie was $500 million, meaning that this film, as of today, opening weekend, already has made $52.3 million in net gain, net profit. That's when you subtract the overall budgeting, the marketing costs for the movie that are, again, the typical standard marketing costs going by the standard rates there. You remind yourselves also that by the end of the run, typically studios get 60% of the box office. And of this number right here, I'll do a fuller review, a fuller breakdown over on my channel, ombreviewz.com, if you want to see what Disney's cut will be. But to kind of give you a preemptive look into that, remember, Sony's going to get 75% of the profits, Disney only 25% of the profits. So even though this is looking really, really good for Sony, again, breaking even in its opening weekend, not many films have done that this year, let alone $200 million films have done that this year. This is looking incredibly good for them, and they were already in the black for the year, whereas Disney has been around $400 million in the red, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in that video as well. What is also, I think, an interesting thing to look at here, and something that is going to become even more and more entertaining to watch, is what's going to happen with these numbers here. So let me go ahead and blow this up for everybody. So as you can see, with $587 million, the film has already net gained $52.3 million. With all 3 MCU films this year, all 3 of them, they had a net loss of $100 million. Shang-Chi made $34.3 million. Eternals lost around $62 million. Black Widow lost around $72 million. And again, I know that there's some other things to look at there, and I'll be updating this chart accordingly. But when you look at the fact that this film is already almost halfway to what the entirety of the MCU did for this year alone, again, the narrative is broken. The pandemic narrative, the fear-mongering of the media, that is completely broken by this story. The fact that you've got 15 million or so people just in North America going to see this film breaks the narrative. The fact that you have countless other millions of people across the world going to see this movie breaks that pandemic narrative, and it again destroys any inkling or any ability to say, well, the pandemic's the reason why X film lost money. Oh, if that's the case, why do you have a $200 million film that just made its money back and is making profit in just one weekend of release? Whereas a film like West Side Story, based on the numbers that we now have, because it had a massive drop-off, is likely to lose somewhere between $117 and $126 million. So a massive loss for Spielberg, who, again, using the pandemic as an excuse to why his film isn't doing well, half needed to break even, whereas this film already has done it in its opening weekend. The best that West Side Story can really look to at this point in time is somewhere between $38 and $54 million worldwide. That number could grow, obviously, as this will probably get some Oscar buzz, and we'll get a lot of help from the industry. But to say it'll get to $250 million and break even is not very likely at all. But the big news, of course, is Spider-Man just, again, smashing some box office records, making it as one of the highest grossing films of all time opening weekend, and it is set to, again, be a $1 billion project. This is huge news for Sony, and I will say, once again, congratulations to Sony especially, and congratulations to the fans for showing Hollywood, showing Sony, showing MCU, hey, if you give us stories that actually respect the fans, if you give us stories that actually give fans what they want, give fans what they've been asking for, and actually lead to campaigns that are now being put out there to try and create new movies from this movie. If you've seen the film, we're still trying to keep things spoiler-free for the most part, but if you've seen things or heard things related to this film, you know that there are some spin-off projects that could easily come from this project from multiple directions. Those are already starting to get a lot of steam, and when a studio is going to see $587 million breaking and surpassing The Force Awakens, yeah, how about that, JJ? that is going to lead to a lot of discussions. But what are your thoughts about this? Are you surprised? A lot of people were lowballing this. Remember, when we talk about as far as the overall domestic totals for this movie, we had even the studio, Sony, saying they expected $130 million. Clearly, they were way off on that projection. In fact, Box Office Report was probably the closest because they were saying, no, this film's going to get somewhere between 225 and 250 based on our metrics. Their metrics actually turned out to be correct this time around, though they have been wrong before. And what we're seeing is this movie is making crap amount of money, will continue to make money throughout this week, especially as people continue to be off from school or start to get off from school and off from work. And it'll be interesting to see how well this film does over the course of this week, over the holiday weekend, next weekend, and just what kind of drop-offs we can see. It's going to be a weird week, obviously, because Christmas is a time people spend with families, but a lot of people have traditions to go see films on Christmas. And hey, guess what? The numbers show very clearly they ain't going to be seeing any of these other films. They're going to be seeing Spider-Man. And so, congratulations to Sony. This is huge news. This is huge news also for fans, and this is also something that clearly reiterates the point that we on Geeks and Gamers, that we as in the part of the fellowship have been saying for a long time. If you give us characters, if you give us fan service, if you respect the lore, respect the characters, and you help and you give products that people actually want to go see, people will go out to see those in droves. And to all the media types that have been trying to fearmonger people for months and months and months, for almost 2 years, guess what? This is breaking it. The reason why I think this film is so incredibly important is not because it's the best film of all time. It's not because this film is groundbreaking by any means as far as what's in the movie. It's because this is shattering the media narrative, and that is always a good thing. But what are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Again, check out my channel, ombreviews.com. I'll have a fuller breakdown of this and other films, and as far as, you know, breaking even for films like Ghostbusters Afterlife and West Side Story, if you're interested in those kinds of things, I'll have a full breakdown over there a little later. Still need to eat some lunch, but I rushed home because I was like, I gotta cover this news, and I gotta be able to make sure that y'all know what's going on. But anyway, you're all amazing and beautiful people, and if you want to follow the Spider-Man versus MCU battle and where that stands currently, on my website, ombreviews.com, on the home page, not only can you go to the box office tracking and actually see what the current losses are, but on the home page, I've decided to put the current box office battle between Spider-Man, again, just by itself, against the entirety of the MCU, and that way you can see where it currently stands. And as you can see, this film on its own has already far surpassed anything that has come out, right? Anything. As far as the net gain goes, it's already destroyed what Shang-Chi did in the entirety of its run. And as far as all of the MCU for 2021, again, we're talking about a $150 million swing there. So check those things out. You're all amazing people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.